What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are finally getting around to unboxing the two new regular iPhones, the non-Pro models, the standard iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Plus. Now, the odd one out here is, of course, the 14 Plus. It's technically new to the iPhone lineup. It replaces the Mini, I guess. There's no more Mini iPhone. And Apple didn't release it until last week, even though all the rest of the iPhone 14s, including the Pro and Pro Max, have already been out. So that's where we're at with these. But let's just get right into it, and while we're unboxing them here, the first thing I want to mention is that with no more Mini, the regular iPhone 14 is now the cheapest new iPhone you can buy, starting at $799. The all-new iPhone 14 Plus is $899, and that is very pricey. You might remember in previous years, the regular iPhone 11 was $600, and the iPhone 12 was $700, so the price has absolutely gone up. My choice of color for the regular iPhone 14 is this new shade of blue, much lighter and softer than previous blues. The 14 Plus is in what Apple calls midnight, basically just black. And as far as what all comes inside the box, you guys know Apple doesn't give you much anymore, just the USB-C to Lightning cable, a small stack of paperwork, and the Apple stickers. Now, I wouldn't fault you for thinking that the new iPhone 14 looks a lot like last year's iPhone 13 and probably even the iPhone 12. They're practically identical on the outside, and to be honest, the iPhone 14 as a whole might just be Apple's least significant upgrade ever compared to the previous year, but more on that in a minute. Size-wise, the regular iPhone 14 is the same 6.1-inch form factor we've had for a number of years. The new, larger iPhone 14 Plus is a 6.7-inch device, and if that sounds familiar, it's because it's the exact same size as Apple's Pro Max iPhone. In fact, the 4 different iPhone 14s this year all sort of line up now. The 14 and 14 Pro are the same size, the 14 Plus and 14 Pro Max are the same size. It's super consistent, and we've had the bigger Pro Max iPhone for a few years now, actually. But if you're coming from a regular iPhone and have never used a Pro Max, be aware that the size difference is quite significant. The 14 Plus is both taller and wider than the regular iPhone 14, and in the hand you absolutely feel that. The Plus is very big and it requires way more stretching and maneuvering with your fingers than you might think. I highly recommend playing around with the 14 Plus in the Apple Store if you can, if you've never experienced the size before, so you can make sure it works for you. And just for fun, here's the iPhone Mini next to the new iPhone 14s, so you can see that size difference. Proportionally, it's a similar jump in size from the Mini to the regular and from the regular to the Plus, but I guess that doesn't really matter because there's no more iPhone Mini anyway, at least in the new iPhone 14 lineup, so your choices now are regular size or extra large. By the way, one of the first things I do when I get a new iPhone is install a screen protector. My screens always get scratched. I don't even know how it happens. But to protect against that, I'm going to be using a sapphire screen protector from the folks at SHELLRUS, who are kind enough to sponsor this video. Now, these screen protectors aren't your average everyday glass. They aren't technically glass at all. They're made from a synthetic sapphire material that's harder than glass. So hard, in fact, that it ranks at a level 9 on the Mohs hardness scale, one notch below diamonds. That means not only will your screen be protected, but the screen protector itself isn't getting scratched either. And these are super easy to install. SHELLRUS gives you everything you need: cleaning wipes, dust removal stickers, and even a tray that helps you align everything. Just take a few minutes to wipe off your screen, pick off any remaining dust bits, and then peel off the film on the underside of the tray and drop the whole thing right on your phone. The screen protector will lay right on perfectly straight in the tray, and you can press it down, spread it around, and when you pull off the tray and remove the protective film, you get a perfectly installed screen protector. SHELLRUS products aren't a faux sapphire used as a marketing gimmick. They are 99.99% GIA certified pure synthetic sapphire material, guaranteed to be scratch resistant, and they look and feel even better than Apple's own glass screens, honestly. If you want the most scratch-resistant screen protector available, this is it right here. I'll leave a link to this down below in the video description, and thanks so much again to SHELLRUS for sponsoring this video. So they say size isn't everything, but when it comes to the difference between the regular iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Plus, size is everything, and the only thing that's different. For $100 more, you get just the bigger screen. No better cameras, no faster internals, not even more storage. Everything else about these two phones is identical. Taking a look around, on the left side you'll find the usual silent switch and volume buttons, but towards the bottom, nothing at all. And that's because, at least here in the US, the iPhone 14s have ditched the SIM card tray. eSIM is now your only option for carrier network setup. And while Apple has tried to make this transition fairly easy, with helpful on-screen setup guides and multiple ways in which you can bring your SIM information over your new phone, from scanning a QR code to transferring via Bluetooth and even manually entering your network details, the process with eSIM has been plagued plagued by a handful of issues. So eSIM for me at least is not my favorite change. On the right side, the same power button as always, just above a 5G antenna. At the bottom, lightning port is sandwiched between the speaker and microphones. There's, I guess, an extra little hole on each side of the iPhone 14 Plus for the speaker and microphone, but that doesn't seem to make a difference in sound or quality. At the top, a secondary speaker and earpiece hidden within the iconic notch with the selfie camera and Face ID sensors. And this is the regular old notch, not the dynamic island. That's on the 14 Pros only. Around back, dual camera setups, the same on both phones, though probably the biggest thing that's been improved versus last year. And as far as the build and materials, with these new iPhone 14s, it's the same glass and aluminum as before with an all-flat profile. As far as what's actually new with the new iPhone 14s, well, there's a number of new safety and emergency features, including crash detection. The iPhone will dial 911 if it senses you were in a car accident, and coming soon, the ability to phone emergency services via satellite if you're outside the range of cell service. Beyond those new SOS features, the only other area where Apple noticeably improved the iPhone 14 is with the cameras. Around back, these new phones get an updated 12 megapixel main shooter that features a larger sensor and an f1.5 aperture, which mainly improves low light and nighttime shooting. The secondary wide-angle lens technically isn't new, at least with the hardware, but Apple says its image processing engine should produce better low-light wide-angle pictures too. For video, there's a new action mode that offers better image stabilization. Cinematic mode has been improved and is available in 4K 30 FPS and 24 FPS shooting. The flash is technically 10% brighter. Some of these camera improvements and add-ons are pretty nice to have now. Apple has definitely been putting some time and attention into the regular iPhones when it comes to pictures and videos, which is good since the Pros seem to always have all the crazy camera stuff. And just taking some quick sample shots, I can definitely see that in low light, these new iPhones do a pretty nice job. The pictures are brighter, but mainly more detailed, less fuzzy, less grainy, but I'll have some more in-depth camera comparisons on the channel here soon so we can really put them to the test. With everything else, these new iPhones are sort of the same old iPhones from last year. The displays have not changed. We once again get Apple's Super Retina XDR OLED panel. The regular 14 comes in at a resolution of 1170 by 2532 for 460 pixels per inch, and the 14 Plus is 1284 by 2778 for 458 pixels per inch. The resolutions are kind of unique, slightly better than 1080, but actually what's important to note is that the bigger Plus iPhone doesn't have a worse pixel density. That sometimes happens on bigger phones with the same resolution as the smaller phone. The bigger it gets, the worse it looks because the pixels are bigger and the resolution isn't better. But that's not the case here. Both phones are equally as sharp up close. Unlike the Pro iPhones though, the displays don't seem to be any brighter. They're not any more colorful or more vibrant. It's the same viewing experience as last year. And while Apple's OLED panels are good just the way they are, we miss out once again on a high refresh rate. That's still reserved for the Pros. So much of the same here with the screens. And as far as the out loud listening experience, the dual speaker setup on both phones also sounds about the same as last year.
We just make it up, 'cause reality will never be good enough. And even if it was, we just mess it up. Artificial love.
Perhaps the most shocking thing about these new iPhone 14s though is the fact that Apple actually reused the processor inside from last year. The new iPhone 14s come with last year's A15 Bionic chipset. The architecture has changed a little. It's an improved A15 Bionic, but it's not the better, faster A16 Bionic found in the iPhone 14 Pros. Apple has never really done this before. Usually an upgraded processor that's touted as being X number of times faster and however much percentage more capable is standard with a new iPhone, but not this year. Now, does that make a huge difference? Probably not for most people. iPhones have been fast enough for like the last 2 or 3 years, and I don't think most people upgrade every single year anymore. So between the 13 and 14, you get no difference, but jumping from like an iPhone 11 or an iPhone 12 to this iPhone 14, that will be a bit of a jump. Even though the processor is the same as last year, I'm fairly confident in the fact that Apple is going to support this phone for like 7 or 8 years at least with new iOS updates. And that's one area where buying an iPhone, any iPhone, even the iPhone 14, which isn't technically any better performance-wise versus last year, would still be a good long-term investment. One last thing worth mentioning, as far as battery life, Apple did say that the iPhone 14 should last about an hour longer during day-to-day use compared to the iPhone 13. And the iPhone 14 Plus, since it's so big, has a bigger battery itself inside, about 4,300 milliamps compared to the 3,300 milliamps in the regular sized iPhone 14. Because of that, the 14 Plus could outlast the regular iPhone 14 by 5 or 6 more hours in certain instances, but obviously this is all theoretical, and we'll have to put these phones to the test in the coming days to really see how long they'll last. So there you go, that's the story with the new iPhone 14s. I honestly don't know how I feel about the 14 Plus. I thought maybe it would be an interesting new device in the lineup, but I'm questioning whether or not regular iPhone users really wanted an iPhone Plus. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.